Fearless Gamers, Matt here for Fearless Games, and today I'm going to be doing a review of a new product that I just got my hands on. Well, I owned it for a while, but I finally opened it up and gave it a shot, and that is my new airbrush kit. Now, the one that I got is the one from Harbor Freight. They do have a website for those who don't have a local store near them, and it's pretty much practically the only airbrush kits they carry is from this group. I think it's one of those store brand stuff. And all in all, it's not too bad. One thing I just will make note is mine doesn't look like this at all. It does look much different from this guy. But thankfully, the instruction manual matches what mine looks like, so I'm not too, concerned about me getting a different one or anything like that. Just throwing that out there. For anyone who's just wondering, or if they notice later when if I do a video of it that it's slightly different. So let's break it all down into different categories. We're going to do the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I like to get all that negative stuff out of the way first, so let's look at the ugly. And the one thing on the ugly list is pressure gauge control. This box says on it that it has an adjustable pressure regulator with moisture trap, and that's this piece here. And they also call this the pressure regulator. Now, in the manual, it just says adjust the pressure. Doesn't show you how, doesn't tell you how, doesn't even point to like a knob or anything. They do have ones where they clearly have like a knob that indicates that this is the pressure gauge control. This one doesn't have that. And I don't know where it is, I don't know if I'm missing it. I had someone else look at it who knows a little bit more about this stuff than I do, and they couldn't figure it out. So I sent them an email inquiring about this, and once I get a response, if it's good news and it's a solution that I can fix or anything like that, I will do a response video to everybody so you can see in case you end up having the same issue I did on this. And so, let's move on. The next thing on it is really nothing really. There's nothing really more, there's nothing really on the ugly list other than that. And so let us move on to the bad. And the first and foremost with that is the airbrush is low quality. Now, I'm taking a stab in the dark with this because I am no airbrush connoisseur. I am not proficient with them. I don't know anything about airbrushes. This is my first time using it. But with that, I can easily tell that this is probably not that great of an airbrush. One thing I will say if you do pick it up is you will have to do some adjusting with the pin piece. Over here, it's a little pin piece that slides out. You're going to need to adjust that a little bit because the way it comes set up is it sets up where it'll only shoot air out, not paint, not even water. And you'll have to pull back the handle really far back, and it's like, then what's the point of the adjuster screw of this? You just have to do some slight adjusting with the pin before it works out. The thing is like, it's not a precise, it can do nice streams. So you can do pseudo striping and do some sort of like highlighting effects with it, but I wouldn't count on this thing being, your pinstriping airbrush or your really big fancy airbrush. I would definitely recommend investing in a more expensive, more professional grade airbrush than the one that comes with this kit. The only other thing that I can really think of is, well, to be honest, not much. Again, there wasn't really much in the bad quality that I could find. This could possibly be just the sheer fact that I'm not as proficient with airbrushes as probably a couple of you guys, or maybe even all of you. I don't know how many of the viewers do airbrushing. If you guys are proficient in airbrushing, please leave a comment about like your favorite airbrush brand that you like, maybe so I can take a look at it for when I want to upgrade my airbrush piece. So let us now then move on to the good. And the first thing going to pop on there is cost. Thing is $99 retail, but I've never seen them sell it for that. Every time I've gone into the Harbor Freight store or go on the website, it's on sale for $89. And so I paid for mine with a little set of airbrush cleaning brushes. I got it for $99, which is not a bad deal, especially for what you're really buying with the kit, which is the pump. And that's not bad. I've always gone, airbrushes can be like $200 to $300 for some of them, but this is, again, if you're just starting out and you're fresh, want just something to get used to it and make your tanks look nicer and have a nice smoother paint finish, because I mean, it does a very nice job at doing what it does, base coating colors and such. And that's what it's really nice for, is you're getting exactly what you paid for, a nice airbrush for base coats. Another good thing that we're going to pop in there is consistent pressure. In my experience with just air compressor pumps, is, they have a pressure gauge that you set it. And eventually, as you start using it, it slowly gets weaker and weaker, and then it kicks back up, and it won't fully get back to that full piece until you stop whatever air compressing, air releasing, or whatever you're doing to get up to full again. And the problem with that is you start losing power, and you start losing the consistency of your coating with your airbrush and this stuff like this. But with this guy, it's actually a on-demand type of pump, where it starts at 60 and it stops there because the safety valve cuts off at 60. But then when you go, it drops down practically in 2 seconds down to 20 psi, and then it stays there. It never shifts, never falters. It only goes back up to 60 when you stop using the air, when you take your hand off the airbrush, which is great. It's constantly going. I had this thing going and just spraying like crazy all these different things. I did 2 drop pods and 5 marines, and I never lost any air consistency with the airbrush. So even coats across everything. There was never time you couldn't really look. The only time you could look at any piece of the model and go, oh, that one was painted differently, was when I was still playing with adjusting, the spray nozzle and getting it where it shoots out just the right amount of water and paint at the same time to get a nice, smooth coat on it. But once I got that part of the airbrush piece set and done, beautiful finished jobs. You could not tell a difference. You couldn't tell what parts were painted first, what parts were painted last, because of this consistent 20 psi that this thing was hammering out. Another good thing, suction cups. They put little suction cups on the bottom of the pump so you can just mount it to the floor that you're going to, and it won't vibrate wherever. It'll stay still right where it is throughout your whole paint experience. Another good thing, easy to use. I found this thing very simple to assemble, get started, and bam, start painting. It was really quick. The only part of the learning curve was mastering the physical airbrush and doing the actual task itself. But getting the thing all set up and ready to go to that point was easy as pie. It took me about maybe a minute, if that, to set everything up. The longest part was screwing in the hoses. Another good thing about it is lightweight. It's very lightweight, and on top of that, I'm going to combo this into this quiet. It is a quiet pump. It was so quiet that at points I kind of forgot that the pump was running. That's how quiet this thing was. And that's really all I can say about this thing. Personally, honestly, if you're looking into getting into airbrushing, I would recommend this guy. Great cost for what you're getting. It gives you a nice pump that will last you, and it gives you a decent airbrush to get you going, but you'll most likely want to upgrade this to something better. I would recommend also a cleaning pot, just so you have some place to spray into to clean out the airbrush, and maybe some cleaning brushes to clean out parts of it that get a little gunky after you do some airbrushing stuff. But other than that, really can't say much for this. Now again, if you guys have any recommendations for like a brand for particular airbrushes, any type of techniques that you guys think are really cool that you'd like to share, leave a comment. And if you haven't already, subscribe or wherever the button is moved to. That way you can stay on top of when we throw out new videos and stuff like that. And so, that is all for right now. Thank you all for watching, and until next time, fearless gamers, take care.